Where does Coach Thibs rank among active coaches? All that and much more on the Knicks Digest. What's up, guys? It's your boy Dariel from Knicks Digest. Last night, Woj dropped a bomb. Not really a bomb, but he dropped a tweet regarding Mike Brown and the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento Kings coach Mike Brown has agreed on a new contract that takes him through the 2026-2027 season. His agent, Warren Legary, tells ESPN, Mike Brown, the 2022-2023 NBA Coach of the Year, gets a new deal with a significant raise. Now, specifically about that raise, Kings coach Mike Brown gets a $4 million raise to $8.5 million on the 2024-2025 season left on his deal, and then $8.5 million annually in the 2 new seasons on the contract. So by reading that tweet, my mind went to Coach Thibs. And Coach Thibs, right now, he's trying to ink a new deal with the Knicks. Back in March, Bleacher Report put out an article saying that Coach Thibs would like to ink a new deal with the Knicks in the offseason, which is now. We're in the offseason right now. And with Coach Thibs being the leader of the team, he finished over 500 and made the playoffs in 2 of his first 3 seasons, which is definitely something we got to take a look at. Coach Thibs has had a very, very positive impact on the Knicks organization, on the Knicks culture, on the Knicks players. I mean, take a look at Julius Randle. Before this season, I believe Julius Randle made an All-NBA team 2 out of the last 3 seasons. And this season, the only reason why he probably didn't make it is because of that shoulder injury. So Coach Thibs coming to the Knicks, like before that, he was with Minnesota. But before Minnesota, he was with Chicago when he had Joakim Noah, Derrick Rose, Carlos Boozer, Jimmy Butler, a young Jimmy Butler. And that team was all about grit. That team was all about defense. And they took on the identity of Coach Thibs. And the success rate that he had with the Chicago Bulls was very high up until Derrick Rose tore his ACL. And then we all know what happened with that. But Coach Thibs with the Chicago Bulls, he led them to the Eastern Conference Finals where they lost in 5 to the Heatles, LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. So ever since he went to the Eastern Conference Finals with the Chicago Bulls, he's had a very good reputation as being someone that could come into your organization, really lead a team, really lead the players, really change the culture into a more defensive mindset, tough, gritty team. After Chicago, he went to Minnesota, and I think he was there for like 2 or 3 seasons. I know in one of those seasons, they went to the playoffs, and Jimmy Butler went up against, it was Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns. They went up against Houston Rockets in the first round, but they ended up losing in 5, I believe. And then Jimmy Butler, there was reports coming out that he didn't get along with Karl Anthony Towns. Andrew Wiggins and Zach LaVine, I believe, were still on that team. And Jimmy Butler was saying how they didn't have a good work ethic. So Jimmy Butler left, and then Coach Thibs, from there, he went to the New York Knicks, and his first season was 2020-2021, the season right after the bubble, and the Knicks made it to the playoffs, but we lost in the playoffs in the first round in 5 games. Now, that's definitely a blemish on Coach Thibs' resume as far as him being the coach of the Knicks. But the season after that, we didn't make the playoffs. The season after that, we did make the playoffs. That was Jalen Brunson's first season with us. We made it to the second round. We lost in 6 to Miami. And now we're here at this season, the 4th season with the New York Knicks as Coach Thibs, our coach. He led us to the second round in a Game 7 against the Indiana Pacers, where unfortunately we were absolutely decimated with injuries. But that tweet from Woj talking about Mike Brown and talking about the raise that he's getting, it just got me to think, like, where does Coach Thibs rank among the coaches? And if he does rank in the top tier, what kind of money is he going to be looking at? So among the active coaches, I made a list, and this is only pertaining to teams that are relevant. I'm not talking about the Charlottes. I'm not talking about the Brooklyn Nets. I'm not talking about the Detroit Pistons, even though Monty Williams got a crazy contract. But I'm talking about active coaches. Let's go through the list. So the first coach I'm going to be talking about, I'm talking about Greg Popovich. And I feel like Greg Popovich is a little bit of a cheat code. So I actually put him in a different tier. And the tier I put him in is under a different stratosphere. Greg Popovich, I think he has like five rings, all of them coming with Tim Duncan at the helm. So I feel like Greg Popovich, we got to put him to the side. It's like talking about the GOAT and Michael Jordan. Like, I feel like Michael Jordan, we got to put him to the side. Like, that's kind of like, and I don't want to say obvious choice, but let's put him to the side because it's a little bit of a cheat code to choose him. Let's get into the real conversation as far as Kobe, LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Kevin Durant, all those type of people. I kind of feel like that with this conversation with coaches. Okay, so now we actually go into the tiers. So tier 1, at the helm of this tier, 100%, No doubt, I have Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra with the Miami Heat. Yes, he has 2 rings with the Heatles, LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. But look at what Eric Spoelstra has done when the Heatles were no more. Look at the type of talent that he's had, and look at how he's led them into the playoffs. Not season in, season out, but consistently, Eric Spoelstra has had the Miami Heat ever since Jimmy Butler got there. He's having them in the playoffs and being competitive as hell, where they have no business being competitive. They had no business last season being in the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, which then led them to the NBA Finals against Denver, where they ultimately lost in 5. Jokic was just too much. Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, they were just too much for Jimmy Butler. But back to Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra, as far as tier 1, I feel like he deserves to be at the helm of this tier. Right underneath him, I have Steve Kerr. And the reason why I don't have Steve Kerr in the different stratosphere with Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr has 4 rings, all of them coming with Clay, Steph, and Dre. Kevin Durant is definitely responsible for 2 of those rings. But the reason why I don't have Steve Kerr in the different stratosphere tier is because look at what he's done with the talent that he's had. And I know you can point to different things. Last season was the whole Jordan Poole and Draymond Green stuff. That really ruined their season. But then at the same time, and you could also point to injuries. I know there was one season where Steph broke his hand and he missed the majority of the season. And then when he came back, they ended up landing in the play-in and they lost to the LA Lakers. So there's a lot of different things that you could talk with Steve Kerr. If you want to have the conversation and convince me that he deserves to be in a different stratosphere, I don't think that I would 100% waive it, but I could also make the argument that he deserves to be in at least tier 1. After Steve Kerr, I have Mike Malone, and I don't know if we really have to go into that. Mike Malone just won a championship last season. They lost in 7 this year to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who absolutely got embarrassed in the Western Conference Finals. But anyway, after Mike Malone, I have Tyronn Lue. Tyronn Lue, LA Clippers. He has a ring with LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, and a lot of people can make the argument it was the best ring that maybe any NBA team has won. Down 3-1 to the Warriors, Steph, Clay, and Dre. And then LeBron, Kyrie, they go on that legendary run, and they come all the way back from 3-1. Tyronn Lue has that ring. Underneath Tyronn Lue, I have Ime Udoka. Now, I know at the beginning of this video, I said that I'm not going to be talking about irrelevant teams, but I feel like Ime Udoka is in a little bit of a category by himself. Look at what he did in his first season with the Boston Celtics. He led them to the actual NBA Finals, where they lost to Golden State in 6, I believe. And now look at what he's done with the Houston Rockets. He's been able to go to the Houston Rockets and absolutely change that culture. This season that just finished was his first season with the Houston Rockets. But look at last season. Last season, that team was a joke. That team was literally looked at as like an AAU team. Jalen Green is looking like he's turning the corner. Is looking like he's turning the corner to be a more respectable player. Where last season he was looked at as a good numbers, bad team kind of guy. And now moving forward, everybody's thinking that like maybe this guy could be part of a winning team. Look at Jabari Smith. Look at his development. Look at Alperen Sengun, who's just a baby joker, and I love his game. Being able to put the ball on the deck, post up moves, the footwork. He's a baby joker. I love his game. But look at all these players I'm mentioning under the development of Ime Udoka. So we really got to highlight that for Ime. As far as off the court stuff, can't really talk about that. But as far as on the court stuff, Ime deserves to be in this tier. Now, 2 names that I have in this tier 1 with a bit of an asterisk. I have Chris Finch with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I have Jason Kidd. So Jason Kidd, the reason why I have him with an asterisk in this tier is because, yeah, he's having a great playoff run right now, going to the Western Conference Finals and now going to the finals. But before this run, look at the other stops that he's had. Look at Milwaukee, that was a nightmare. Look at when he started in Brooklyn, that was a nightmare. And I know that maybe it takes a little bit of time for coaches to really get into their groove and as far as like really find a niche for themselves. Maybe that's it. Maybe Jason Kidd just needed the time to find out what type of coach he is. And moving forward, we might be looking at Jason Kidd differently. Maybe he finally found his groove, finally found the right way to coach Luka. Or you could also look at it in the opposite way. Maybe with the talent and the addition of Kyrie Irving paired with Luka Doncic, maybe that's going to be helping Jason Kidd out. Maybe that might be his saving grace. But with Jason Kidd, like prior to this NBA Finals run, he had a Western Conference Finals appearance. I believe it was like 2 seasons ago where they lost to the Golden State Warriors in 5. But last season, they didn't even make it into the play-in. And before 2 seasons ago, where they went to the Western Conference Finals against the Phoenix Suns, they were not in the playoff contention, play-in contention, I believe. If I'm wrong, don't kill me in the comments. But Jason Kidd, I feel like just has like his history with going into the playoffs is not great. And Chris Finch, the reason why I have him in tier 1 is because he's been able to get this Minnesota Timberwolves to the Western Conference Finals, and first time in 20 years, and you got to applaud that. The Minnesota Timberwolves are they're not looked at as a joke of an organization, but they're not really looked at as a relevant organization as well. Granted, he has an immense talent in Anthony Edwards, who absolutely is going to be the face of the league moving forward. But now, as far as the way he's handled the Minnesota and Dallas series and the Western Conference Finals, losing in 5 games, now, if you're going to make that argument with me, saying that Coach Finch could have done a way better job, again, I'm not going to wave it off. I'm going to listen to it, and I might agree with you. But as far as tier 1, Chris Finch, 100%, I'd say he'd be at the bottom half of that tier 1. And as far as tier 2, I have 4 names. I have Frank Vogel, Willie Green, Darvin Ham, and actually, the guy that we talked about at the beginning of this video, I have Mike Brown. Mike Brown, I believe, just finished his 2nd season with the Sacramento Kings. Last year, I believe they were, the first, second, or third seed in the Western Conference. They ended up losing to the Golden State Warriors in the first round in 7 games, which in my opinion, I think they should have won, because with all the drama that the Golden State Warriors were going through with the Jordan Poole punch and Draymond Green, and Steph Curry said in the press conference after they lost to the Los Angeles Lakers in Game 6 in the 2nd round, saying that this season was just hell and that they just couldn't get it together. So the Sacramento Kings couldn't capitalize on that in the first round. That's definitely a blemish on Mike Brown's resume with the Sacramento Kings. I mean, Darvin Ham, in my opinion, he didn't get a fair shake. Only 2 seasons with the Lakers, and the first season was the Western Conference Finals appearance. The 2nd season was the first round going up against the reigning champs. I feel like Darvin Ham didn't really get a great shake at it. Willie Green from the New Orleans Pelicans, he has a lot of promise, but I just haven't seen it. I mean, you could also throw at me all the injuries and the injury plague that Zion Williamson is having, because he is the face of the franchise, and if he's not healthy, then you can't really gauge of how good of a coach or how good of a team that team really is. So I get that. So that's why I put him in a tier 2, and I didn't just completely just not have him on any list. I mean, Frank Vogel, he did win a championship in the bubble, but again, it was the bubble. You got to have an asterisk. I'm not dismissing that championship, the bubble championship, but you could also make a case that you could look at it as one of the hardest rings that any team has had to win, but you could also look at it as you kind of just got lucky because other teams didn't really want to be there. And you had LeBron James, who still was probably that was probably the beginning, maybe not even the beginning, but you still had LeBron, AD, Dwight Howard. That team was stacked. So having said all of that, Coach Thibs, 100%, in my opinion, deserves to be in the tier 1. But where in the tier 1 does Coach Thibs deserve to be? Does he deserve to be in the upper half with Eric Spoelstra, Steve Kerr, Mike Malone, Tyronn Lue? Or does he deserve to be in the bottom with the people that I have, which is Jason Kidd and Chris Finch? So again, you can make the conversation that Coach Thibs, he's led us to the playoffs in 3 out of the 4 seasons he's been here, but let's take a look at the results. The first year, in the first round against the Atlanta Hawks, we lost in 5, and we were the higher seed. It might have been, we were the 4th seed and they were the 5th seed, but still, we were the higher seed. We had the home court advantage, and we got absolutely embarrassed. Julius Randle didn't have enough in the tank. The defensive schemes drawn up against him was very easy. Just make sure you get the ball out of his hands, and we're going to make anybody else beat us. Derrick Rose, Reggie Bullock, that team, Alec Burks was on that team. And in my opinion, Coach Thibs, he didn't do enough to adjust to the type of defense that Atlanta Hawks was playing on Julius Randle. The 2nd season, we didn't even make it to the playoffs. And there was also that whole Julius Randle thing with the crowd, which was really weird. I'm not putting that on Coach Thibs, but that's just something that he was dealing with. And then after that, like I said earlier, it was Jalen Brunson's first season. We go to the 2nd round. We lose to Miami in 6. And the reason for that, would you say, is it more Jalen Brunson's play? Because we also got to note that Julius Randle had a really bad ankle injury where we found out in the offseason that he had to get ankle surgery. So you know that it was serious, and he was playing through it. So was it more so, that's why I'm not putting Julius Randle with Jalen Brunson's play, because Julius Randle didn't really play well in the playoffs, but we know why, because he was injured. So that's why I'm saying, are we putting last season's success, losing in the 2nd round in Game 6 to the Miami Heat, are we putting it more on Jalen Brunson's play, or are we putting it on Coach Thibs' coaching? In my opinion, I think it's going to be more on Jalen Brunson's play. And this season, going to the 2nd round again, but this time we're losing in 7, but we're losing to the Indiana Pacers. Of course, we have to highlight how we were decimated by injuries. The injury bug hit us big time. We're talking Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, Bogdanovich, Mitchell Robinson. You guys know the list. I'm not going to go through it again. But the first round against the Philadelphia 76ers, where we won in 6, Some of those games were won because of players stepping up. Game one, I remember Deuce McBride had a really big game. Shout out Deuce. He's probably chilling on the beach in Brazil still, but shout out to you. Game two was more of a collective effort with Bogdanovich when he was still healthy, Deuce, Alec Burks, and then Jalen Brunson showed up. So again, are you putting the winning more so on the players, or are you putting it on Coach Thibs' coaching? And then the second round with the Indiana Pacers, I don't know how to gauge this series against the Indiana Pacers because, again, we were decimated with injuries, and I don't think any coach was going to be able to do anything different than Coach Thibs. As far as Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo and the skeletons of a body that we had left on the court, as far as those players leading us to the second round and into a game 7, that definitely should be saluted. We should definitely commend that. But again, I have to raise the question. Us getting to a game 7 in the second round, is it because the players were willing themselves to get to a game 7, or did you see Coach Thibs do a lot of adjustments and try to switch up the defensive schemes, try to switch up how Brunson got his points? And in my opinion, I don't really feel that way. I feel a lot of the reason why we had, I guess if you want to say, a successful season this season and last season was a lot on the players' shoulders. So guys, all I'm saying is right now Coach Thibs is talking to the Knicks organization and they're trying to figure out the whole coaching and a new contract. So moving forward, would you be happy with a new 4-year deal? Would you be happy with a 3-year deal? Would you be happy with, I don't know what they're going to be doing. And I don't know, the report could be coming out anytime soon. We don't know, but we got to take these things into consideration. One more last thing before I wrap up the video is one of Coach Thibs' knocks is the amount of minutes that he plays, the players that he trusts. The players that he trusts, which is a really small rotation by the time the playoffs come around, is probably 6, 7. And this season he went to 8, which was surprising. But in most cases, I believe it's up to 7. And then with those minutes, especially this season, he racked them up playing Brunson, Hart, Dante, Josh Hart played 48 minutes for I think 3 straight games. OG Anunoby, look at OG. He wasn't used to the minutes, and then he strained his hamstring, and he tried to come back, and he looked like an absolute skeleton out there. So Coach Thibs, you got to take a look at all these different factors, and you got to take it into consideration as far as the type of coach that he is and as far as the type of coach that we're going to have moving forward if he's able to ink a new deal with the Knicks. But that's it for today's video, guys. I want to say thank you so much for checking it out. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about, 1, my tier list as far as different coaches. 2, do you want to see Coach Thibs return? And if you do want to see him return, do you want to see him return for a 4-year deal, a 3-year deal, a 5-year deal? But again, thanks for checking out this video, guys, and I'll check you out on the next one. Peace.